Welcome to my review of the Faeries Oracle deck. Collaboration between Brian Froud and Jessica MacBeth. Text is by Jessica MacBeth, and from reading the guidebook, it sounds like she did her own selecting of the images that would be part of this deck. And I'll just show you the guidebook to start with. This is the guidebook. And it's a very hefty, substantial guidebook. Here it gives you a little guide to how she has divided them. She says it's kind of an artificial division that she says the fairies were not terribly cooperative with. And but she said, you know, we're people and we like hierarchies and divisions and classifications, and so this is what she did for us. One is the Singers of the Realm, the She, Fairy Guides and Guardians, the Helpline Troop, and the Fairy Challengers. And I'll show you this too. Part 1, Fairies and Oracles, First Steps into the Otherworld, Touching Fairy, Reading the Cards, Basic Card Spreads. So this is not just about the cards or the meanings of the cards. She's gone to great lengths really to both acquaint anyone who picks this up with the whole notion of reading for yourself and for others. So going deeper, preparing for a reading, reading the oracle for others, fairy style readings. But I do have some criticisms of that. I think many people would find it very helpful. For me, this very substantial, beautiful book, I would have rather had a softbound edition of this book and a thinner edition of this book and heftier cardstock for the cards, which are a little bit flimsy. Just a little bit. If you use them a lot, I can see them getting worn. Some people actually criticize the fact that the pictures in here are not in color, in part because of what I just said. I'm glad they didn't put any more money into the book. And I found some of the grayscale images actually helpful for seeing underlying patterns behind some of the colors, especially in the Singers section, which to me are more radiances. They're expressions of light. They don't look like traditional fairies. Like this, when I see it here, I definitely see a thistle. And if you look up the Scottish thistle, you will see why it is being used for the Singer of Connection. Oops, I guess I didn't have that image. Let me go back to the Singer of Connection so you can see. I'm looking at the book. I'm looking at the book and not through the camera. Okay, so this is the Singer of Connection. You see the thistle, and here's the blossom. Okay. So definitely a lot of artistry both in the writing and the conceptualizing in the guidebook. And again, I would rather have seen a little bit, just a tad more quality in the cardstock. And again, I'm an older person, so I'm not looking for the handholds or the philosophy, the background psychological philosophy that she spends a lot of time on. Jessica MacBeth in the writing, I do appreciate that she did. She kept her language and her style in the spirit of the fairies. Okay, so addressing them and their hijinks and the whole thing. So that part of it is fun in the course of the reading. Okay, so what do we have down here? I'll get my trusty crabapple pointer. Again, This is just regular playing deck, just to show the size. These are kind of tall and narrow. I tend to shuffle them at the corners. And this shows you some of, this is a singer, this is a singer. So you can see that they distinguish themselves, essentially. Then you have images that are traditional. They have the traditional fairy look, like this and this. Others are, I mean, it's all Froud, right? There's almost no mistaking Froud's art. And just other fairies. This is the backing. It's both the backing and one of the cards. It's the Topsy-Turvets. So if I were to turn this particular one over, you would see the same thing, but you would see the Topsy-Turvets written down on the bottom. And these are challenger cards. These are examples of challengers. The Bodacious Bodach. Well, I don't know that I'm pronouncing that correct. Gluminous Doom. Okay, Penelope Dreamweaver is, again, one of the more traditional types of fairies. What I did when I got this is a helper. This is Ilby the Retriever. Do I have, oh, that gnome? Could be a challenger, could be a helper, depending. She does something very clever in the book. In that they have numbers, you can see. They have numbers here. This is 7. I can't see from here if that's 17 or 27. 10, 41, 5. But she said that's pretty much just for reference in the book. But what she did is when we get to this little devil right here, the gnome, she put him in with the she, like Solus. Actually, he's supposed to be part of the singers, but clearly isn't. And the sage. Do I have anybody else in here that's part of the she? So they put the gnome in there. And that's like a heads up, there's hijinks here. There's mischief going on. And that is that you can't take the ordering of things, and she tells you that the ordering felt artificial to the fairies. So you can't take the ordering that's in here seriously. You can't be religious about it. You have to go through the deck, which is a great way to get to know the deck. You have to go through the deck and make some of your own decisions about who belongs in what group. And I did that, and I still, make decisions about what should go where. Maybe this fairy should be brought up to this category or not. And it's a great way to get to know the cards, because you have to think about it. You have to think about each card and connect with this and say, well, what group do you belong to? So I really liked that aspect of kind of putting the onus back on the person who is buying the cards, who's going to work with the deck, about how you, or if you, want to have these divisions. Okay, let's take a look at some of the cards. And again, I would say this cardstock is actually less robust than a standard deck of cards. Maybe they weren't expecting people to actually use them, which I think is a shame. Okay, so here we have Lace Day, Moon's Daughter, Honesty, and Honestly. I think I decided to put Honesty, which she originally had with one of the helpers, as one of the helpers, with one of the challengers. Okay. Luathus the Wild, definitely a challenger. The Fairy Godmother, isn't she wonderful? Look at that little critter there. Okay, but she does have an apple. So that's just a radiant card itself. Lohira of the Waters. I guess I'll have to decide on my own pronunciations. I haven't used this deck yet as reading for others because I feel like I need to get a little bit more of a handle on it. I love the personalities of this deck. This is one of the things I love about they're, you know, it's not about a bunch of abstract, how do I want to say it? It's not about a lot of abstract imagery. You know, they're personalities. And for me, that makes it a little easier to remember. I can remember the personalities. The Master Maker, very much similar to the Magician, but a little on the earthier side, even though he has some of the same gestures as the Magician. Gaucha, one of the challengers. The Laume, the Fawn. Okay, this one actually was out of place. It's very clearly one of the Radiant cards, or one of the Singers. The Fawn, or one of the bridges between those two realms. The Fairy who was kissed by pixies. The Oakman, I love the Oakman. The Piper, one of the She. Iris of the Rainbows. I had to elevate her also. She was in one of the lower level groups, and I thought, no, not Iris. She has to be up there. Okay, Spirit Dancer, Lists of the Shadows. I think I moved her into the Guides, or maybe not. Guide or Helper himself. Okay, the Guardian of the Gate. And here, this didn't strike me, but in the black and white, this looks so much like a broom. Okay, like focused energy comes here, comes in focused, and you burst through any barriers. Kind of gathering your energy. Singer of Initiation. I see, and again, I didn't really see this until I was looking in the guidebook at the black and white pictures, but the bull, like the Minotaur. Anyway, the Pook, another challenger. The Friends, helpers. Okay, so the Bright Mother, definitely a primary card, very much like the Empress. Okay, so those are just some samples of the cards. Again, I apologize, I got so carried away looking at the cards, I wasn't paying very much attention to what was happening in the viewfinder. You will see more of these cards in my videos, because I definitely intend to use them, maybe for some weekly or monthly pulls. I have a particular way that I like to use them right now. And I just love them. I think they're cool. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think this is it for the Fairy Oracle deck.